And hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the Pregame Network podcast. This is episode 54. My name is Dan. I'm joined by my bud Anthony, and we're back to talk
Hello.
about more. Fucking weirdo. We're here to talk about some more gaming news and stuff and things.
Yeah.
Um, it's been an eventful weekend, couple days, I would say. I think a lot of
Yeah.
news has come out, especially around the things that we in particular pay attention to
Yeah.
that warrants discussion.
Mhm.
But as usual, we will talk about what we have been playing first, and then jump into the news after that because I think that at least for me, the last thing that I'm going to talk about as far as what I've been playing is going to lead right into the first thing that I want to talk about as far as news goes.
Okay.
So you go first, and then I will. Then after you go, I'll talk about what I've been playing. But then I'm going to transition into, um, uh, like the first news story towards like the last game that I've been playing. Does that make sense?
Yep. Cool. Works for
Okay.
me.
So hit me. What have you been getting into this week?
It's been about the same business as usual. Just pretty much what I've been doing the last 2 weeks. Just because it's like what I've been playing are dense games. The only addition I would say to what I've been playing is I've gone back to my gacha rotation. I have a
Oh
buddy I've
boy.
been playing Genshin Impact with because there's like we just like to do things out in the world, do the events as they come. It's like a nice little cozy thing we like to do, right?
Mm,
I went back to Girls Frontline because it was the end of one event and the start of another, and that's pretty much. I just went in and cleared out a bunch of things, got the units that I needed to, and I've just been enjoying the new story content, new event content. Um, Other than that, it's really just
but actually, I have
been.
a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What type of gameplay is Genshin Impact? I've never played it before. I feel like
So,
I've asked you this.
yeah, I'll just tell. You've asked me once before. I'll touch on it again. It is like a very light action RPG that's
Okay.
based more around unlocking units and finely tuning equipment. Like every character can equip a weapon, obviously, and then 5 different accessories, and you go for stat bonuses and set bonuses and stuff like that. I haven't fully optimized just because I'm not at the maximum level with many of my characters, and I want to wait until that point. But it's a very casual play. I think the way I described it to you before is it's that kind of system, that basic ARPG system, laid on top of what you would expect from Breath of the Wild as far as walking around and gliding and climbing traversal.
Right. Yes, I remember that
Yeah.
comparison.
Yeah, so like that's I mean it does both games a disservice to say that it's just a ripoff. There are a lot of stuff underneath it, and I think closer to launch it was closer 1-to-1 where you could kind of say like, oh, it's Breath of the Wild but with a bunch of stolen assets and stolen animations from other games because that's kind of what it was at the beginning. And in a lot of ways it still is, but it's mainly a game of exploration and light action elements. Really,
Okay.
it's kind of difficult to get into the story aspect for me as far as like what to expect because I think the pacing's a little scuffed for somebody who gets in really late. Like there's 5 different continents worth of stuff to get into, but that's the gist of it. It's the best way I can put it is imagine a world in traversal like Breath of the Wild, but the combat's different and the long term, I guess min maxing almost is different. You know.
Okay.
Um,
All right. Fair enough.
but yeah, but it's actually funny. The guys that do Genshin Impact, they have like a handful of different gotcha games, right? And like one of them is like a turn-based RPG, but like with some light action elements. And there's obviously the gotcha pull system. Then there's Genshin Impact, which I just got done telling you about. There's another one called Zenless Zone Zero, which is more of like a grounded action game where like the focus is less on exploration and more like mission and mission stuff. And I have a bunch of people trying to get me to play that, and I might try that out just because it's coming to Xbox now too in the summer, so I might give that a shot when it comes out. But yeah, but as for right now, that's the gist of it. I am still playing in my spare time Oblivion Remastered just because there's a lot of shit to do in that game. I'm
Yeah.
up. I decided to stop the base game stuff and I went to the Shivering Isles content, which is the major expansion, one of 2 that Oblivion got initially. And
Okay.
I'm still looking for differences. my opinion really hasn't changed as far as where I really keep Oblivion. Nothing's really changed drastically to piss me off. Nothing's really changed to say like, it's all worth it in the end. It's still very much where I left it. And then the last thing I've been playing is I've been in New Game Plus for Expedition 33.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I just got to say, like you messaged me the other day talking about, I was like, am I doing something wrong, or am I just not used to it because you had mentioned you having some difficulty? What I will say is that New Game Plus is kind of filling me with like even more of like the familiarity that I felt with when I was playing the game. And just like, it reminds me of JRPGs of old that aren't really around anymore, like the PlayStation 2 era and stuff like that. New Game Plus, it hits the same notes for like late game, post game content. Like it's like immediately all the stakes are raised. You are dying in one hit pretty much out of the gate unless you like really geared beforehand. I am enjoying it because it also, like, even though the stakes are raised, it's also throwing a lot of goodies at you for upgrading purposes. And the nice thing is, you don't really experience this until you do New Game Plus, but if you collect a duplicate item that you collected in the first playthrough, it like just immediately gives you like a higher level version of that. Like it levels up Pictos and Luminas by like 20 to 30 levels. Weapons immediately get automatically upgraded, so it eases you into it, and it just lets you rely on your experiences with the game. So that's been a lot of fun. I've been going slowly because I have been trying to show somebody this game, so it's like I haven't been going through the story content. It's like I'll be playing and showing him, and then he'll have something to do, so like I'll immediately just go do all of the side content. And I'm really excited to start, like I'm almost at the point where I can start doing super bosses again, and I'm very excited to get to that point because I'm finally getting into the groove with the Luminas and stuff and all the different skills you can do. Like I'm not as crazy as some people. Like I've seen some clips, Dan, of like the guys
I was
that
talking
max everything.
Okay, yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was talking to my buddy Dan, and so he's really into Expedition 33 also. He also greatly enjoys turn-based games. His favorite game ever is Final Fantasy VII, so like this is kind of right up his alley anyway. But he said like you hit a certain point, and I don't know if it was New Game Plus or if it's like a Picto, but it removes all damage caps from the game. So you just do like fucking nutty damage numbers.
Yes.
And I don't know. I thought that was funny. That's what reminded me of that.
So that's something you do get at a certain point in your first run. Not spoiling anything, obviously, but like that's just like the tip of the iceberg. Like I've seen people with crazy fucking builds, and they stack like all of the different, like there's ones where it's just like you get bonuses for being the last one standing on your team, and you start with a debuff, but you benefit from the debuff instead of just having like just negative side effects, right? So I saw this one clip. It was like 10 seconds. The battle starts, 2 of his team members die, buffing the last guy standing, which did an automatic damage effect that killed all the enemies and then himself, and then they automatically got revived by a different Picto. And I'm just like, that's some crazy late game shit that you can do that you don't really see anymore because like all of these games are hyper tuned and hyper focused so that you can't break them. And it seems that I don't want to make this comparison just because everyone's been making this comparison and they're kind of doing it broadly. It reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy X specifically. Because
that doesn't really mean anything to me, but I'll take your word for it.
The reason I say that compared to the other Final Fantasies, Dan, is because Final Fantasy X is turn-based in the same exact way that Expedition 33 is. Like it's like all the other Final Fantasies had either stat-based turn orders or they call it the ATB system, which is like a bar that you would watch actually charge up to show when you were going to make your next turn, right? Final Fantasy X. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it works better in some of those, but the whole point I'm getting at is that Final Fantasy X is literally, like, same as Expedition 33 has the turn-based thing on the screen that you're supposed to manage and do different skills to fuck with the turn order and basically benefit you and your teammates. And the other reason I say that is because late game and post-game Final Fantasy X is about using this massive skill board where you basically like, okay, at the end, it's no longer everyone has their certain tree that you get into. You're basically breaking the game by going through your stats again and overriding them and shit like that. And it reminded me a lot of that. And the only reason I bring that up is it's all good feels. You know, it's very satisfying. So
Yeah.
I'll stop gushing about it, and I think the next time I talk about Expedition 33, I'll probably be done with New Game Plus and I'll have my final thoughts. But that's what I've been playing.
Okay. Cool. 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 So my list of games that I've been playing is a little bit longer than yours. It's nothing like too out of the ordinary, but so I'm gonna go to my Steam list. Just easier for me to read
Yeah,
off
go
of
for it,
that
man.
because it's got all, like my recent games and everything. All right, so I beat Ghost of Tsushima. I finished the main
Oh, nice.
campaign in that game. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Like the story was fine. Like I don't think it won any awards for writing or like the plot or anything like that. But I think the voice acting was very good.
Hmm.
Like the overall plot of the game, it was serviceable for what it needed to be to fulfill that samurai fantasy. And it what like so I say like it's not like, groundbreaking or anything for like a samurai story. But I think that the performances in that game probably do the most to carry the campaign forward. Like if you were to think about a samurai movie that you would watch and how the story arcs go for all the characters and where they started versus where they ended, this is as good as any great samurai movie was. It is, I
So,
guess.
so would it be accurate to kind of formulate your thoughts there? It would be more accurate to say, well, the story isn't, phenomenal or groundbreaking. Its strengths are in the experience overall. Is basically what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. That hits the nail on the head. So I think my playtime was 34.7 hours, so about
Yeah.
just about 35. I did uh the tales in this game, which are like the side quests. They they go to like nine different steps in total. So I only did two to completion, and then I finished the main campaign because I kind of hit the point where like okay, I just want to be done with the game. I want to finish the story
Yeah.
and move on. Um, I I liked pretty much everything about it. I don't really have like anything overwhelmingly negative to say other than the fact that I think that the game suffers from being a giant checklist in the same way that almost every open world game is. I think
Mm.
I've kind of hit my limit as far as open world games go. To where like because there's no real innovation. The only game that I played recently that was technically open world, and it wasn't God of War or Hogwarts, because I had the same dialogue the last time we spoke about Ghost of
Yeah.
Tsushima. But the only game that like I really sunk my teeth into that I loved every second of, between the side content and the main quest, was probably Cyberpunk.
Okay.
I think it was because like one, I liked the subject matter it was dealing with. I liked the setting itself. I thought the story. I was more invested in the Cyberpunk story than I was in Ghost of Tsushima.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but I can only do like the open world checklist formula so much before I just get bored, and I
Yeah.
needed to see of Tsushima through before I just stopped playing it entirely.
Makes sense.
So yeah, I beat Ghost of Tsushima. I think that its greatest strength is in its power fantasy of making you feel like a samurai. It just excels at that. So
Hmm.
that was good. I really don't have anything overwhelmingly negative to say about it aside from it's suffering from the same pitfalls as any other open world game.
Yeah.
Space Marine 2, I've been playing more of Dark Tide. I've been getting back into like the swing of Dark Tide. So that's just a staple for me at this point, really. So the last game that I was playing a little bit of, I didn't really get too much of an opportunity to play for reasons I'll go into in a second, but
Hmm.
um, we've spoken on the side a little bit about Arc Raiders. You know what this game is,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay, so for those of you that are listening that don't know what Arc Raiders is, it is an up and coming extraction shooter that is made by Embark, the same people who are developing the finals, and it's the Embark Studios is comprised of former DICE developers who famously worked on all of the good Battlefield games. I say good Battlefield games because everything like Battlefield 1 was like the last great Battlefield game. Everything after that was just kind of actually was it only 2042 after Battlefield 1 or
No, you're
am I
forgetting
missing something?
Battlefield 5.
Ah, yes. Okay, so Battlefield 5 and 2042. Uh, these are not the same people who made those games. All the good shit that Battlefield's put out, that is basically who comprises Embark. So, though I wanted to talk about Arc Raiders as the last game that I've played for this week because it directly leads into the overwhelmingly positive reception of the Arc Raiders tech test 2. So, okay, I didn't play too much of it for a couple reasons. One, I work all the time. Two, I have kids. And three, it's an extraction shooter, so you really need to play it with a full squad to get the most out of it. And to my knowledge, I was the only one who got into the technical test out of our friends. So that ship kind of sailed.
Yeah.
So that being said, I only played about an hour of it because I don't really have the time to sit down and like not be interrupted by X, Y, and Z thing. So where I'm going with this is the technical test 2 came and went, and it's been all over the internet, and it is like the consensus across the fucking board that Arc Raiders is a really, really good, not even an extraction shooter. It's a very good game, like full stop. It's in a very good state for being an I guess an alpha technically, or I don't know what build they have right now for the game, whether it's an alpha or a beta, but I'm gonna say alpha. Every single YouTuber, content creator, streamer, whatever that I follow has had nothing but good things to say about this game. So much so that it is directly being compared to Marathon, because how can it not? They're both extraction shooters. Yeah. And I think I told you at one point that Arc Raiders is supposed to be free to play. That was I was incorrect. It's going to be the same price as Marathon at $40. I think the studios do this to paywall cheaters and hackers. And I don't mind paying for the game as long as it's worth the price tag. So that being said, I have gone out of my way to look up more and more gameplay and footage of this game to kind of try to form my own opinion as far as what it's going to be without having actually played it to the point where I would be comfortable talking about it from my own experience. So just to rewind a little bit, this game started out as a straight up looter shooter. Embark wanted to create a game that I guess could rival like the likes of Destiny, I would say, but they just wanted to make a looter shooter. Somewhere along the development cycle, they came to the realization that this seems to be working more as an extraction shooter as opposed to just a PvE looter shooter. Excuse me. So I find it very interesting that this is the second tech test, and it already, like, this game could come out tomorrow and nobody would say boo about it. It's put together well enough that it feels like a complete product, and you cannot say that about Marathon. Like, you look at Marathon and like it. So I've tried watching several hours of Marathon gameplay. It doesn't even look that much fun to play, like from a spectator's perspective. I have watched probably about anywhere from 7 to 10 hours worth of Arc Raiders gameplay, just so I can get somewhat of an opinion on it, so I could talk about it here. It doesn't get boring, and I can't say that about Marathon. And
it's interesting that you say that, because like the first thing I noticed just based on your reaction and the reaction of a ton of other people is it's almost like that same comment that you had made about Helldivers 2 early on, where like there's just a lot of experiences that happen in the game that add to the overall flow. Like there's always entertaining stuff happening, be it intended by the game or just happenstance from how things, just fall as they do.
Right. And there's a couple of things that I do want to talk about within this game in particular. So is it safe to say that you really haven't seen much of this?
I've seen a little bit. I've seen, like, because of the same things I just mentioned, a couple clips get around, like 30 seconds to a minute, at a time, but nothing major. No.
Okay, so okay, number one, graphically, it looks beautiful. And I think that and I'm going to be making a lot of direct comparisons between Arc and Marathon because I mean these two games are in direct competition with each other, and
Yeah,
Bungie has to be shitting their pants right now
I
after the
would.
this weekend.
I mean,
Yeah.
you
Um,
said you said to me back when you mentioned it was free to play. Obviously, now we know differently. I'm just like that's like a nail. That's the nail in the coffin. I mean, don't get me
yeah.
wrong. Having to pay for it doesn't make it it's no longer like a slam dunk immediate, but it's still not good news for Bungie.
Right. Well, I mean, what Bungie has shown off doesn't warrant $40.
Yeah.
What Embark has showed, and it has let people play, like this looks like a $60 game or a $70 game, not 40. And so like that is way better than the offering that Bungie is putting out with Marathon. So the first thing that I really want to say about this game is that, uh, like I just said, the graphics, they look great. It's built in Unreal Engine 5. The team obviously knows how to work around this engine, and it shows. Everything runs very smoothly. I didn't have any issues on my PC when I was playing it. Granted, I only played for an hour, but it was fine. The performance, like the optimization of this game, is very good. And I
Mm.
say that because I have an RTX 4070. I think it's a 4070. It might be a 57. No, it's a 4070.
Okay.
I was getting well over 110 frames at maxed out settings across the board. I don't think that my computer is built to max out maybe anything,
Hmm.
and at least not to get the performance that I was getting out of Arc Raiders. So I was very happy with the performance, and the
Yeah.
optimization seems to be very, very good. And it's not like 80 gigs or anything. It's like 40 gigs.
Hmm.
It's a reasonable sized game.
Yes.
Um, so moving past that point, the audio design is some of the best I've ever heard. It rivals Modern Warfare 2019. It
Oh
is it
damn.
is so yeah, it is so fucking good. And you can't appreciate it unless you actually play it. So
Yeah.
like you can like Anthony, you can go online and watch some gameplay and try to like hear for the audio design, but it's a different animal when it's running natively on your own computer on your own headphones. The audio design is really good, and
Hmm.
it really adds to the gameplay of what an extraction shooter can be.
Hmm.
Uh, Everything sounds like visceral and crunchy and just really 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 good. You can hear gunfights off in the distance and tactically plan how you're going to approach the engagement if you decide to get into that fight,
Hmm.
just based off of the audio design.
Mm.
Uh, It'll it the all this audio cues for enemy attacks and everything. It's all great. Like you can ask anybody who's played it. The audio is second to none for this game, and it's just. I feel like audio design is super underappreciated
Oh,
today.
absolutely.
So I'm gushing about this because not a lot of games really put a big emphasis on audio design,
Oh
and
yeah,
and
absolutely.
Arc Raiders seems to have done that, and I'm very happy about that. So the graphics are great, the audio design is flawless. Um, the structure of the game. Do you remember how DMZ functioned, where you had contracts and went out to in the game world, you completed them, you came back, you got rewards, rinse and
Yes.
repeat.
Yep.
So Arc Raiders is very similar. However, you have skill trees for your character. You have three separate skill
Mm.
trees, and you can systematically progress through all of them, but that have like tangible gameplay benefits. And as far as I know, not a whole lot of extraction shooters have that or have had that.
Okay.
So I feel like Embark is making Arc Raiders very approachable to the casual, but will like it also has something to offer the hardcore. And I can't stress enough how in trouble Marathon is going to be with this game nipping at its heels.
Hmm.
Um, I think that Bungie has to delay Marathon like for at least a year. It is not ready for a September release date. I
There's
don't
no
know
way they're gonna
when.
do that.
I know. I don't know when Arc Raiders is supposed to be launching. They haven't set like an official hard launch date for it yet. I would assume it's might be somewhere in the sphere of influence of the Marathon release date, but I don't know for sure. Maybe around the holidays. I mean,
Yeah.
September, October, that would probably fit for like a holiday release date. Um, but again, I can't. Oh, that's another thing. Uh, all the different outlets, media outlets that I follow that have a mutual interest in both Marathon and Arc Raiders, they all like with the not even the vast majority, every single one of them that I've seen, it's the same opinion. Marathon is in trouble because Arc Raiders exists. Like I don't want this to be the case because I like Bungie and I like pretty much all the games that they have made, and I also am a fan of the extraction genre. And now that Bungie is making one, I thought great at first, but seeing what they have been making over the past 6 years, and then seeing what Embark has been creating with Arc Raiders is like it's not even a fucking contest. I think Marathon is in huge trouble. Not
Oh
even
yeah,
like
absolutely.
take out the merits of the Marathon gameplay and the visual style and everything. If that existed in a vacuum, I would still be like towards it.
I mean,
But
that's
now that
essentially the way you've been operating up to this point because
yeah.
it didn't have competition until like 5 seconds ago.
Right. Now that not only does it have competition, but it has like serious, fierce, threatening competition. If they release at the same time, Marathon is going to be just cooked. I don't
Yeah.
think it's going to be a good show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty much the extent of what I have to say about Arc Raiders. This game kind of came out of nowhere and it impressed basically everybody that put their hands on it.
Yeah.
And it's like the only other game that it's in competition with is Marathon, and that's not much competition right now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that I'm gonna just be talking in circles, but that's my
Yeah.
my takeaway for the Arc Raiders tech test too.
Yeah. It's actually funny because it's like there's a few things I can say less about Arc Raiders and more about Marathon and just how it stacks up. And
Hmm.
like I look at it this way: Marathon and Bungie were kind of in this position that uh, Overwatch and Blizzard were for a while, where like Overwatch had no competition, right? And they just
Hmm.
coasted and they just did nothing to change their habits. And I think realistically, I think Bungie was poised to do that one way or the other, regardless of how people reacted to it because there was no competition. This would be as if Marvel Rivals came out as Overwatch was coming out, and then Overwatch just coasted after the fact. I don't think Bungie has a plan to actually the Arc Raiders is putting them in a position where they need to react in a way they were not planning to do for potentially like anywhere between 2 and
Ever?
5 years, if
Yeah,
ever.
yeah,
That
I
that's
completely agree.
that's just where the culture in the company. Like I don't understand. I don't know what's going to happen with Marathon because the prospects were bad just from what you were telling me. I know a few other people that had like a passing interest just to see where Bungie was going. I know this one guy who is notorious among the people that know him, where he like whenever something new gets put in front of him, he kind of latches on. It's like almost like an advanced FOMO thing, and he's the only one I know that got into the Marathon test, right? And even him, like sitting there going,
To
"Oh,
be
this isn't as
to
bad as
be
I
fair,
thought."
anybody
What?
to be fair, anybody could have gotten into that test. All they really required you to do
Oh
was
no.
join their
I'm,
Discord.
oh yeah, I'm not saying he's special or anything. But I'm saying he's the only guy I knew that got in, and it just happened to be this guy who is, like I said, notorious for just like immediately going like, "Oh, this isn't as bad as I thought. This is actually pretty good." Like latching on to just whatever because he's there playing it, right? Even he
Yeah.
was just like, I'm not having fun. This is boring. And then he like fucked off to play other extraction shooters. Like I think he's playing Escape from Tarkov now or something like that. And I'm just like,
Can't
that's
do
a
Tarkov,
bad
that's-
sign. That's a
Yeah.
bad fucking sign if you can't net like the autistically attached to whatever's put in front of you people. I'm just like, I don't know. I wasn't in that
Yeah,
market, but
I
now I'm
don't.
curious to see what Arc Raiders ends up doing to Marathon. I think it's gonna
Is they're
take it to
supposed to
a
be
dark alley
having.
and beat the shit out of it.
Yeah. Literally mug it.
Yeah.
um, I I'm pretty positive that Arc Raiders is going to be having an open beta
Okay.
relatively soon. I would probably say like a few months from now. I definitely think that we should jump in and try it.
Yeah.
It's also third person, which I know is a little bit more up your alley.
Of course. And it's less up
So,
my alley and more that I'm looking for those options. You know.
yeah, no, I know. Speaking of third person,
Yeah.
can you fucking believe that the Division 2 is getting another expansion? I was flabbergasted when I saw this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I don't have much to say about that other than I share the same surprise as you. I mean,
Yeah.
good for the remaining Division fans out there, I guess. I mean, the Division always struck me as a kind of mishandled property. Like it was a very smooth third-person shooter, and it just got very slow content drips that led into a kind of disappointing sequel. Don't have much to really say on that, but I was
Yeah,
as
no, I
surprised
wasn't
as
bringing it
you.
up to talk about it.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. I don't know, just it's funky, or for funny, I guess, both. All right, well, let's move on from that because I've ranted about Arc Raiders
Yeah.
enough. Um, so, the first small thing that I have is that Expedition 33 has now sold over 1 million units, and this was on April 27th, so it's probably way past that now.
Yeah, I think it's like it's like selling twice as fast as any other RPG out there at the time.
Yeah,
Really
didn't
flying
someone
sales.
saw an article somewhere that said that like they proved Square Enix wrong for
I
whatever
mean,
reason?
there's a lot to say about that because it's just like I have like a chip on my shoulder with Square Enix because they've
You?
spent like what?
You have a chip on your shoulder?
Yes, I do, Dan. Well, so the two things I'll say just is I think what I ended up seeing is that aside from just Square Enix, I think somebody like posted the graph, and I think Expedition 33 is outselling even the traditional JRPGs that have like stuck with the formula, like yeah, kind of like D tier games like the Trails of series, but also like bigger like breakouts like Metaphor, Refantasio.
Okay.
And I mean, overall, this has just brought a conversation back to like turn-based style, and the reason that Square Enix, I know it's Enix, but it's like a Titus thing. I'm just never gonna stick with it one way or the other, or Exard kind of thing, where my mind will just always jump between the two. But Square Enix gets a lot of shit because they've basically since Final Fantasy 12 they've basically been experimenting in any way, shape, or form to not do traditional turn-based, and they are adamant. They always constantly assert that it's just not a popular formula, and they
Mhm.
basically never want to touch it, which is why Final Fantasy is in the state that it is now because it's where Square Enix goes to experiment and say like turn-based doesn't work, we need to do it a different way. It's why Final Fantasy 16 was an action game. It's why they retrofitted Final Fantasy Versus 13, an action game, into Final Fantasy 15. It's why 14 is just another MMO. It's why 13 had an action ATB system. I'll give that credit where it's due. It's why I think the second sequel to Final Fantasy 13, Lightning Returns, is more of an action game than an RPG, even though there's a mix of elements there. It's just they keep experimenting with it because they're adamant that the traditional functions don't work, when it really ultimately it's just about doing it correctly and not flooding the market. It's why the
Mhm.
Persona series has gotten to hang around just doing its thing this entire time. It's why Atlas was able to, regardless of my problems with Metaphor Refantasio, it's why they were able to make that to a certain amount of critical acclaim. It's why they're going to get away with remaking Persona 4, a game that does not need to be remade. It's why a series like the Trails of series, which I'll talk to I'll explain at a certain point in one of my rants why I have problems with it, but why a D tier series like the Trails of series that should have died a long time ago manages to sell every time they make a new one. It's just this idea that turn-based RPGs don't sell. It just doesn't. It doesn't compute. It's one of those corporate thinking things that has just lingered in all the wrong spots. Despite, I mean, people like to say it's like, oh, see, this Expedition 33 proves it. There have been good turn-based RPGs out there. It's just they don't get the attention because everybody's waiting for Final Fantasy to make a rebound. But yeah, Square Enix is hopefully kicking themselves. Square Enix deserves to be kicking themselves for so many reasons, but this is just one of the many reasons. Because I cannot stress like the self-loathing they seemingly have. Like, they begrudgingly keep the Dragon Quest series going. They put out the Final Fantasy. It's got to be a new action experiment all the time. Like, the newest one is basically just Game of Thrones mixed with Devil May Cry. That's basically what the latest one is. It's and here's the thing: Final Fantasy can experiment game to game. That's perfectly. It's an anthology series. But when you look at Final Fantasy 1 through 6, there's a very clear shared DNA. When you look at 7 through 10, even though the settings are wildly different and they have different mechanics, like I mentioned to you before, 10 is a very different turn-based series. There's a shared identity in the quality and the themes and just. It all feels like it's from the same series, even though it's an anthology. And it even stuck around with 11 and 12, even 13 to a certain point. But with 16, and no shade to 16, I'm not saying 16's bad. I'm just saying it was created as a departure. They literally hired the Devil May Cry guy and said, like, listen, turn-based doesn't work. We need an action game, right? And it's just, yeah. So to say they are kicking themselves more than likely. And I don't know if they're going to learn anything from it. Because honestly, the Final Fantasy VII Remake games, they managed to find like a pretty good mid-ground between action and RPG. And I honestly, like, if they don't go back to turn-based, they should just steal that and use that system, because that's a pretty good system. But
yeah, well, I mean, you're the expert on that.
Yeah, that's really all I have to say on that. Is like, yeah, they're probably kicking themselves, but like, you know, there's only so much. It's Square Enix has been making boneheaded moves for a while. They're also one of those companies that got really deep into Western policies. Like, they have like an ethics committee that like basically goes through the game and says like, oh, this doesn't look right, and this, you know, they're bought into the Western Kool-Aid, so to speak. So even if they decided tomorrow to start making RPGs, they would still have tons of issues where they would not be able to compete with like something like an Expedition 33 or a you know, even though Atlas is also going down that route, they wouldn't be able to compete with Persona and stuff like that for the foreseeable future. But yeah, that's my little ramble. I'm hoping Final Fantasy comes back one day, not just for my purposes, but also so I can, you know, win a few bets on people who have it, you know, have it set where they're just like, oh, it's never coming back. I'm like, I'm a believer, goddammit, because as I've mentioned to you before. So, like, if you look at my top 100 games of all time, you're going to find at least 4 Final Fantasies on there. It is a really solid series.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something I was never able to get into, Final Fantasy. It was mainly because of the turn-based combat.
It is what it is. I mean, I would say that, you know, at some point before you're dead, you should probably loop around and try at least a few of them. I'm not going to send you back to one eventually on the NES, but I think 9 and 10 are worth playing. 7 just to see what it's all about. I think 8's good. 12's all right. You probably like 12 because it's basically just a Japanese take on the Star Wars, you know. Like they have their own version of Han Solo and all the different tropes and characters. People compare it to Star Wars all the time because it copies a lot of the story beats. Yeah, but 4 is good, but that's a little hard to get into, even though they've remade it like 5 times. But yeah. The only other thing to really say on this whole thing is Expedition 33. The story gets funnier every time you look at it, because like it's just like, oh, you know, the guy made it because he was working at Ubisoft and he was bored, and then he rightfully says, like, if I wanted to get this game greenlit at Ubisoft, it would have taken decades to get greenlit because they're not willing to take chances. So instead, he went off on his own. He found the composer on SoundCloud. He found the writer on Reddit, and he's like, let's make a game. You guys seem like the right guys. Crazy. And yeah, they made it's so crazy because like it's crazy for not just those reasons. It's everything we've said about AAA development and corporate overreach and shit. It culminates in shit like that. Ubisoft could have had a slam dunk, but they're just not willing to, you know.
Not even a slam dunk. They could have had a critical hit that they've
Yeah.
needed since
Yeah.
fucking I don't know, Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah,
Like
remember leading up to Assassin's Creed Shadows, we're like, Ubisoft needs something. They need a hit. They need something, right?
yeah.
Imagine if they greenlit Expedition 33.
Well,
Because
not for nothing, Assassin's
yeah,
Creed Shadows was commercially a success. Like it sold well.
we don't know what the
But
sales numbers are. What do you mean it's sold well?
I'm pretty didn't it sell
We don't have
well?
sales
Like
numbers. We don't have sales numbers. They just keep saying
I
players, players. People have played the game. We do not have
I
sales
thought I heard
numbers.
that it sold well. All
No,
right. Well,
no. What you heard was
player
online.
engagement.
No, you not only did you hear player engagement, but this is the shit that's so retarded about it, because this is a culture war thing. You have every now and again like analysts on, not even Twitter, on fucking Blue Sky of all places, are saying like, "Oh, I know a lot about the inside of the industry, and it sold about X amount of units." All right, who are you? Where are you getting this information for? And they're just like, "Dude, trust me, these guys are legit." I'm like, "Okay, could you just like spell it out for me?" Dan, I'm telling you right now, if it sold spectacularly well, Ubisoft themselves would be saying it. It's not that difficult. Like,
Yeah,
so
you're
like
right.
maybe it is a commercial success. Who knows? I don't, because they didn't give us the fucking numbers. They just keep saying player engagement, and I know part of it is because that's a new metric they're trying to everybody's trying to do, like be it Sony with the different PSN accounts and forcing that on the PC, or everybody trying to fluff their subscription numbers by saying like, oh, we want to do player engagement now. I get it. I get why they're fronting that, but the second part of it, and arguably the first part of it, the larger part of it, is they don't want to have to commit to sales numbers until the very last moment. So it's possible by the time an investors call rolls around, we will hear about those numbers, but we do not have them yet. Anyone who says that we do is lying to you, because all we have are analysts making guesses or saying like, I know a guy, so
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's talk
yeah.
about something else. All right. I got one small thing, small-ish thing. I would say, something that's probably on the bigger side, and then I mean I have a couple of things here and there, but Borderlands 4, they had like they hosted a state of play actually just for Borderlands 4. They gave it a release date. It's coming out September 12th, which is actually like a full week and change ahead of schedule. And people were speculating that was because of they didn't want to get in the way of GTA 6. But joke's on them. GTA 6 has now been delayed basically a full fucking year. Which is
like half a year,
good.
8
I get,
months-ish.
yeah, which is good, I guess. Uh, now I think that because I want to circle back to Borderlands here in a sec. No, let's circle back to GTA because that's like a pretty big deal as for, like in the gaming landscape. The Borderlands State of Play, they had like a 20-ish minute gameplay video. I have always liked Borderlands. I am just a fan of that genre that Borderlands essentially pioneered, as you know. I am probably gonna buy it. I like the formula. I mean, it's something to kind of like turn my brain off and play. And I mean, it's Borderlands. It looks like Borderlands. It's probably gonna feel like Borderlands. It's just gonna be like a stupid good time. So I'm fine with that. But the delay that GTA got hit with, people were so okay. Borderlands and GTA, they're both published by the same publisher, right? Take-Two Interactive.
Take-Two, yes.
And yeah, people were theorizing that they moved up the Borderlands release to give GTA some more breathing room, or really to give Borderlands breathing room, because GTA is way bigger than Borderlands. But I would put money on the fact that any company that has a game in the pipeline that was slated to release anywhere near the suspected release window that GTA was supposed to come out in, I would bet money that all the publishers and all of like the management for those development studios are like, look, you got to get this fucking game out, work around the clock, do whatever you got to do, put this thing out. We need it out. We're no longer under the fucking falling meteor that is GTA 6. Just get your shit done. So I didn't link this, but I've seen around in my travels that Battlefield 6 is DICE is like really trying to push through the development cycle of BF6 to launch this holiday season, especially now that GTA 6 has been delayed as long as it has. And the reception to that one is a little bit mixed because Battlefield fans are like frothing at the fucking mouth to get a quality Battlefield title. And now the consensus is that if GTA 6 is not going to be a threat anymore, EA and DICE are going to try to push it out the door, which means it's going to be rushed, and nobody wants a rushed Battlefield game. So that's the conundrum here. Now, everything that I've seen from Battlefield so far has looked promising. It essentially just looks like a facelift of Battlefield 3, which is pretty much what everybody wanted anyway. But like all those bones could be in place, which is great. But like if it launches and it's not technically competent, then you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot anyway. So I don't know. I don't really want them to. No, I definitely don't want them to rush anything.
This is not the game to do that.
Yeah, especially when your reputation is in the shitter. The way that the Battlefield's reputation has been dragged through the fucking muck and the mud for the last, 7 years? Something like that. So, point being, DICE, don't rush Battlefield. Take your time with it. Make sure it's the best game that it can be. And, put out a good product. So there's that. Now, what do you take away? I mean, you're probably going to have a pretty short answer to this, but what's your whole takeaway with the GTA 6 delay? Because like I said, I bet you everybody and their mother that has a game in the pipe is like, okay, now the pressure is off, at least for now.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the first thing is like a lot of people who are holding their breath for holiday lineups, be it developers and consumers and everybody. It's kind of like everybody can breathe easy for a little bit. I think aside from the fact that it's Grand Theft Auto 6 is getting delayed, just in general, the fact that it's in it's ending up in a comfortable spring summer position, right, with a hard date. I think that's everybody. It's better for everybody, right? I think definitely it clears up a lot of the holiday madness that everybody was kind of anticipating. As far as like the delay, I mean, it just kind of makes me reflect on like the game and the company itself, right? And like I've mentioned this before, I'm not really interested to go out and buy Grand Theft Auto 6 when it comes out, but I am curious to see what it amounts to because the cost of this game is ridiculous. It's billions upon billions of dollars have gone into this. It's being helmed.
Is it that high? Is that the budget?
Yeah. Hold on, let me double check. I'll double check the numbers right now.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot. Plural billions.
It's estimated to be between 1 and 2 billion.
What? Wow! Holy shit!
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, it's kind of a reflection on where AAA gaming really is and how bloated it is. Because like, here's the thing: I get it. Grand Theft Auto in general is a very powerful brand. It has humble beginnings. A lot of great games in that series, from like the top-down days to the what everybody considers revolutionary with Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, San Andreas 4, all quality games. But it's like you kind of look back at Rockstar. It's like they used to do like AAA gaming. They would release a game every year, every other year, or something like that. And now it's like they release these games like 4 to 6 to 8 years apart from each other, and we're kind of reaching the threshold of return on like the money being put into it and the entertainment value taken from it. It's just I don't think the weight and the budget is going to amount to a proportionate quality game. You know,
I
even
don't
with the
think any game's
delay,
gonna live up to
yeah,
the $2 billion worth of greatness.
yeah, it's just like here's the thing. I say what you will about Rockstar's games, and we've had conversations about like their priorities as far as gameplay and world and things like that. Like they have an amazing level of detail in their worlds and environments, right? I think I think the modern day technology is going to catch up with them really quick because I already think Grand Theft Auto 6 looks dated to a certain extent. That's just the nature of the art style they chose and the where we are with like realism in games and like what technology is capable of. Forget the exact term, but it's like, once you reach a certain amount of polygons and triangles in a 3D generated object, you stop getting return on details and stuff like that. But anyway, what I was getting at is like all of this money is going into a product that by the time it comes out will look dated. I mean, I get a lot of the details that are going to go into it. Like I saw the leaked footage. I don't know how much of the leaked footage you saw before the official trailer.
Not much of it.
Okay. So
if anything.
No, it's fine. I saw like that massive leak that happened, and basically like a lot of people were unimpressed by it, but I was actually interested in it because it highlighted a lot of the key things that they're going to be focusing on. And it's like how do certain bodies move when they're moving in and out of cover, does switching your aim style over each shoulder, does that look proper, small details like that. There was a whole video in this file in these leaks that was literally just about showing how gauges on the dashboard of a car react and how different interiors of different cars can look, right? There was all these different variables that show that they are hyper tuned on focus, but I don't think that's enough anymore. I think it's going to sell very well, but I think this might be a tipping or turning point for Grand Theft Auto. Where like that luster kind of wears a little bit. I'm not saying it's going to turn into anything. I don't think the game's going to be fast enough for it.
I think that GTA is such a mainstream product that the vast majority of people who are going to buy it and play it are not looking at that stuff even a little bit.
That's why I said, like, I think you might have misunderstood what I said. Like I said, I don't think it's going to affect Grand Theft Auto 6. I just think we're reaching a tipping point for it, like, long term. I'm looking at the glacier and where it's going to be in, like, a decade, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but in 10 years, they could always switch out the art style and make it look
I'm not disagreeing with you. Like I said, this is not a doomsday. I'm not standing on the sidewalk with my sign that says the end is nigh. I'm just saying, like, this direction is probably not going to be enough anymore at a certain point, especially if they intend to chase higher prices, which I think they're going to, obviously.
Oh, 100%,
whether it's this new growing standard of 80, which we can talk about in a second, or if they do end up still gunning for 100, who knows? But yeah, my whole thoughts.
I think they're gonna gun for the 100.
Yeah, no, it's very possible. I think everybody's trying to tease this quote unquote variable pricing, even though it's not really variable pricing. It's just go up as far as people will allow, and then we'll stop. But no, yeah. As far as Grand Theft Auto 6 being delayed, I don't think anything's really going to come of that delay that's going to in the end help the underlying issues that'll lead to very, very, very long-term brand issues. I still think it's going to sell well. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying like it's in trouble. Well, I mean, that's not where the delay is coming from. But
in the 15-year gap between GTA 6 and 7, I mean, they'll cook up something else, and
you never know because you never know because I think another thing to note about just this delay and just the amount of time between them is like I don't know if this like the same Rockstar is really there anymore. I mean, there's been plenty of articles in the last 5 years about how it's like, we can't be an all boys club anymore. It's restructured to look quote unquote more like a real company, which basically means they got all the, it's like, oh, it was a frat house before and now it's a real company. I'm like, okay, so that means your company's on like the clock now, right? Because if you're crushing the culture of a company, there's a give there that you just can't maintain. And don't get me wrong, because of how long these games are in development for, it's not something that's going to reflect right away, because a lot of the DNA from the time where they were still that same company is probably still in Grand Theft Auto 6. But yeah, I think the cracks are starting to show a little bit in Rockstar and Grand Theft Auto, and it's gonna lead to either a situation where the budget keeps inflating because it's just all those issues I've mentioned about development and talent bleed and mass hiring and outsourcing and overhiring and stuff like that is just going, like, Rockstar is willing to, like, immediately throw 100 people at a one-man problem when they lose a man, you know. So
Yeah.
we'll see that it's not tenable in the long term. Like with that budget I mentioned before, like what are they gonna just do, $5 billion for the next Grand Theft Auto? Something's gonna
Yeah.
give. I think, but it's interesting to look at for sure.
Yeah, it's fascinating from like a commerce perspective of like what one product can do to a market or
Yeah,
to an economy. Really, like GTA is the biggest um, piece of entertainment property. Full stop. It's
yeah,
bigger than anything, which is nuts.
yeah,
So it will be fascinating to see how this plays out. But
yeah.
I mean, really a long-winded way of saying, yeah, GTA 6 is delayed until May 2026. Um, all right, so a couple of small things before I get into the biggest news story for me personally, and
Hmm.
you probably know what that is, but
Yeah.
I'll save it. I saw an article from Games Radar, what was it, on the 29th of April, about Helldivers.
Hmm.
Basically, long story short, Arrowhead acknowledges that like it's been a long stretches of nothing, followed by like them fucking farting out a war bond, and then another long stretch of nothing, and then them farting out another war bond. And the game is just kind of has been resting on its laurels since it really came out, with the exception of like that Illuminate expansion with that introduced the next biome and enemy race.
Yeah.
But essentially, they said that they know it's been they know it's been stagnant, and they are hooking up something to make the game a lot more interesting.
Hmm.
So we'll see what the fuck that means. I, I don't. I haven't played Helldivers in a while. I don't dislike it. I mean, the complaint just comes back to once you max out everything, there's nothing else to go for. Like you can
Yeah.
make your arbitrary rank go up like big number good, but it doesn't really give you anything or do anything for you. There's nothing to chase once you're done unlocking all of the stratagems and equipment.
Mm.
So I just think they need like uh, for lack of a better term, like a prestige shop, you know? Like give me something to
Yeah.
spend 50,000 credits that is just burning a hole in my galactic pocket. Um,
It's actually, no, in hindsight, actually funny. It's actually funny you mentioned that. You know what game it was one of the games I played in the what I've been playing actually got something like that where it's just like they basically just added a new layer of achievements that you can use to unlock cosmetics and shit. Yeah, fucking Girls
but,
Frontline has that.
oh yeah.
Somehow Helldivers doesn't. I don't get it. Like it's just something they added on a whim.
Yeah, I
We'll,
mean,
we'll
these
see this
artists
here.
that make these games, they could probably pump out hundreds of really cool in-game looking items that anybody that would play it would want. And
Yeah.
all you need to do is make the simplest economy around it for that carrot at the end of the stick, and like you just
Yeah.
have infinite replay value.
Yeah.
And why more games don't do this, I don't know. It's a
It's
complete enigma to me.
that is a curious thing. It's something I think about a lot because, obviously, compared to the two of us, I go back, I play a lot of older games more frequently than you necessarily do. Um,
Mhm.
and I play a more varied genre, and it's something I think about a lot as far as cosmetics because like I look at something like, obviously Street Fighter, right? One of the big draws of fighting games nowadays is like, oh, different cosmetics, different customization options. And Street Fighter 6 has been dragging its feet for a while because they in Street Fighter 5 they did a lot of lopsided, where it's like every now and again, like, three random characters will just get a costume or something like that. And Like it ended up like by the time Street Fighter V ended, you'd have random characters who only have like 2 costumes, and then you'd have characters like Chun Li have 16. And I think the
I wonder why.
people reacted like obviously because people buy what they want, but people reacted poorly to that. So what they were doing with Street Fighter 6 is like when we do costumes, everybody needs to get a costume with whatever wave they happen to be doing. And as a result, they release like one costume set a year, and people are fucking fuming about that.
Oh
And
yeah,
I'm just like,
because it's nothing.
yeah, and I'm sitting here going like, that makes a lot of sense. And then at the same time, I'm going back and playing these older games, and it's just like random games I pick up and play, be it single player action games or older fighting games, will just have like anywhere between 3 and 10 costumes on games that do not get downloadable content, like older console games that just don't have DLC or anything like that. I'm just like, where's the disconnect? Because it's not even like something as arbitrary as like, oh, they just want to milk you for all it's worth, because that part of it's out there, right? It's like we have games like Street Fighter 6 where people are begging for new costumes, and games like Helldivers where people literally say, give me fucking anything so I can keep playing your wonderful game. And I just, at a certain point, it's just lost on me,
Yeah.
like how we get to this point. some kind of fucking some kind of disconnect, man. But it all, I mean, it also could factor into what I've said about like who's actually developing the games. It's maybe they're just not up to the task, or maybe they have like these weird, like you mentioned before, that the Helldivers guys, they had to stick up their ass about like gun accuracy to gameplay. So it could be something like that. Like they just have this weird like tick or quirk where they don't want to. I know the Street Fighter guys at a certain point said it's just like, oh, we got to finally craft it, and they did this whole like thing where they showed like, oh, they're adjusting the eyebrows of the characters and shit like that. I'm just like, okay, you're going a little far for this. I appreciate it, but at a certain point you're getting diminishing returns, and then you have like the guiltier guys where they're just like, well, we can't make costumes in the style because it's fine-tuned to look like a 2D thing in 3D. And I'm just like, you all have these weird fucking hang-ups. You're massive companies. Just make the fucking content that people want to pay you for, that people want to earn. Like, I just, at a certain point, I just don't get it,
Yeah, I mean, it's such an easy solution too, and it just
make the
doesn't get
fucking
done.
content. Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Okay, so I lied before when I said I had one small thing and then my big thing.
You go over.
Okay, so one, there's going to be a new Destiny reveal for the new Destiny expansion that's happening tomorrow on May 6th, or I guess technically later today. It's called The Edge of Fate. I mean, there's been some stuff leaked. I'm not really going to get into that right now, but it's supposed to be kind of like where Destiny is going from here forward. I think we talked about this either last week or the week prior, because like the 10-year saga of the light and darkness has been wrapped up, and like everything had a nice bow put on it, and now the Destiny community doesn't really know what's happening next. So this is supposedly going to answer that question. So I'm very curious to see what they're going to reveal tomorrow. That was just something small I wanted to touch on. We finally got kind of an explanation as to why Halo 3 never got a remaster in the same vein as Halo 1 and 2 got a remaster. And it essentially boils down to the fact that 343 were so busy with Halo 5 and Infinite, and they didn't really have the resources to spend time on a Halo 3 remaster, that they just didn't do it. And I mean, fuck, like, it would have been such a better time investment to work on Halo 3 than Halo 5. And I mean, Infinite was a good game, okay, but it just, like, the age of Halo has just passed. And I guess the gaming community at large has pretty much moved on. I mean, Halo was always kind of like that party game that everyone got together and played together, and it wasn't even like, let's play King of the Hill or Team Deathmatch or Slayer. It was all more so like community-made game modes and maps and party modes that were just quirky and fun and stupid. That was the allure of Halo. And they could have had that again, given a Halo 3 remaster for like
Yeah.
Xbox
I
One or
mean,
Xbox Series or whatever.
don't get me wrong. I mean, I think Halo 3 lived on a bit in the Master Chief Collection. I'm not a big fan of arbitrarily remastering it. I get why you
I know.
want it. I would say
Yeah.
that, the remaster of Halo CE was kind of questionable as far as some of the art changes. That's just the nature of, the time gap and the people who worked on it. I would say that there were some things lost in translation between the two, personally. Um, to a lesser extent, that happened with Halo 2 also. I just think that Halo 3 is like, it's one of those games that was just so fully realized at the time. You would need to really show me a good reason to remaster it outside of just, outside of what we were essentially given with the fact that it was added to the Master Chief Collection. Like, I don't know. I think that's as far as they really needed to go, you know?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think I just wanted like a shiny new way to play Halo 3. I fucking love Halo 3.
Yeah,
And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that.
yeah.
Uh, I would have played that infinitely more than I ever played Halo 5. Or Infinite never really got the support that it needed to begin with, and the fact
Yeah,
that the people who created it weren't there to iron out the bugs after launch, so it was just kind of
yeah.
a DOA to an extent, which is a shame.
Infinite's just a fucking travesty because it's just like I mean, we've said it ad nauseum at this point. It was literally just like the bones were solid. It just needed
Yeah.
content, and
The best
content
feeling Halo
just came
game
to
since
it.
Halo 3.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's just I just what a fumble. It's really just a
Yeah.
disaster. And the funny thing is like I look at that and it's just like, oh, it's because we were held back by the engine. I'm just like, you should never be held back by an in-house engine that basically gives you everything you need, right? And it's just like I don't think they learned fucking anything from Infinite. I think they're just going when whatever happens next with Halo, I don't think it's gonna be anywhere near what it needs to be. But yeah, I mean,
Oh, definitely not.
Infinite was really just a massive fumble because they did all of the hard work and then they just didn't do anything with it afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just a shame. Really Greek
yeah,
tragedy.
yeah,
Um, Speaking of remasters and
yeah,
re-releases and Xbox overall,
yeah.
fucking Gears of War Reloaded is coming to PlayStation. That
Yeah,
that slippery slope is just getting steeper and
I told
steeper.
you. That's what I said.
No,
I mean,
I know. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, so a few things about this in general. It Reloaded is basically a re-release and upgrade of Ultimate Edition of Gears 1. And the first thing I'll say is good because don't get me wrong, backwards compatibility is a thing, but the network infrastructure for Gears Ultimate is a fucking nightmare. It's a disaster. Like
Is it?
it was not upkept at all, and I don't know if that was intentional or just a fumble, but it's just a nightmare. It was a nightmare to find matches. It was a nightmare to function. Like it just did not work properly. Like there were so many issues. So like just from like you said before, it's like I wanted more people to play Halo 3, and we had that option with the Master Chief Collection. Give or take some features. Ultimate Edition was just a fucking disaster. So it getting another re-release is good just because it's a functionality issue.
Well,
Now,
why they never remade 2 and 3 and then released it in the same collection, like a Phoenix collection or something, is beyond
yeah,
me.
we've talked about this at some point, and I
Yeah,
forget
we
exactly what my
definitely
answer
have.
was.
It was a
It was
while ago.
yeah, it was before these collections were really the norm, and I think they were just testing the waters. Um, and that's fine. And it's like, oh, Gears 1 is the oldest. Let's see what we can do with that, right? And Gears 2, Gears 2 is kind of the odd one out as far as popularity, so maybe they just didn't feel like investing into it. I don't know, but I guess we'll see what happens after this. I do think like the big
I
selling
don't think
point
it's
would be like
bad.
Gears 3,
Hmm.
arguably the best third person shooter made in 3 console generations.
Yeah,
So
I don't think it's going anywhere. I think that
yeah,
Xbox is trying to get their IPs on different platforms so that they can recoup
yeah.
the the horrific console generation they've been having,
I mean, everybody
and
like yeah,
it just I don't think it's going anywhere. I don't think anyone's really interested in Gears of War. anymore. We'll see what happens with E-Day, but
Yeah,
you
I
know,
mean,
I
my whole
like the
take.
age of all these golden era IPs is done. You
Yeah,
know.
it's pretty much over. It's like I would say the same. Like if Uncharted 3 came out on the Xbox tomorrow, like
Hmm.
I'd be like I'd raise an eyebrow. You know, I was more of an Uncharted 4 guy. Uncharted 4, let's say, came out tomorrow on the Xbox, I would be like, what are we really doing here? You know, it's what we're seeing right now with Xbox in particular, you know, much lesser extent PlayStation, is kind of like the early stages of like when console and PC ports and having cross ports between the two was new. It's almost like that. Like the only reason, like, and I don't want this, but obviously like it's probably going to happen. I don't want it to happen, but it makes more sense, is like if the Master Chief Collection came out on the PlayStation tomorrow, right?
Hmm.
That, as far as a business sense, makes more sense because it's a complete package of almost every Halo game, right? That makes sense to like bundle up and pass around because it's like a complete collection. It's not spotty, right? It's a bit strange to do this with Gears, and like you said, the golden age of a lot of these franchises is kind of over. Just because like the upkeep has been so terrible, and the AAA bloat that we talk about, where games take forever to fucking come out, like there's just no interest. So
Yeah.
it's kind of pitiful in a way, really, because like you know, there's this really like asinine thing of just like, oh, everyone gets to play. It's like, okay, so it's you basically just lose one of your core, you know, foundational exclusives. So like, I mean, I don't think it's going to sell terribly, but I don't think player retention is going to be there like enough to justify, you know,
No.
such a thing. Like you would basically need to sell over 1 million, maybe even more than that, on the PlayStation, and on top of that have like a very solid player retention in the tens of thousands for this to make sense in the long term, regardless of whether you end up, you know, dropping out of consoles altogether, or if you end up rebounding and eventually decide to take these things exclusive again. I don't see it as a sound business strategy,
Yeah.
or
I mean,
yeah. Go ahead.
wait, like it. Everything you're saying makes complete and total sense, which begs
Yeah.
the question, like, who is this for? Because nobody
It's
talks about Gears anymore. You know,
it's
like
it this
no.
this is for executives in Microsoft trying to get as much out of their stuff as possible.
Yeah.
That's all this is really for.
Maybe.
It's literally like people at the very top of Microsoft saying we need to get more money out of Xbox, and it's just this confused strategy because, like I said, I think we talked
Oh
about
God,
this.
speaking of Xbox, we haven't talked about the price increases yet.
We're gonna get there once we finish talking about
Okay.
Gears. We'll get
All
there
right.
right away.
That just hit me.
That's fine. So the to kind of wrap up, I guess, is it's what I said a while ago, where I'm just like, I could see them going a couple ways with this multi-platform strategy, right? Where they just try to make their money with like timed exclusives, or if they are trying to like go full multi-platform and then maybe eventually close it back up with exclusives again and stuff like that. But it's just like, now that that time is finally here, right? And you're doing something with the first Gears of War, a remaster of the first Gears of War, a remaster of the first Gears of War. Sorry, I'm trying to be as concise as possible. Um, it's just like, it's like a wet fart. It's an
Yeah.
embarrassing wet fart,
Yeah.
because it's just like,
Yeah.
here's the thing, I don't buy into
Now
the whole
everybody's staring at you.
exactly. Like I don't buy into the console war bullshit. We even back in the day, the heyday, we were never really big into the console war bullshit. But it's just like, it's so like depressing going online and seeing like a handful of Sony people going, haha, we finally got like your sloppy seconds from a decade ago, and like the Xbox guys are like crying because like one of their foundational, it's just a sad affair overall,
Just stupid.
because like it's just like, here's the thing. I think them giving up the, you know, great exclusives, or not great exclusive, but like things that appeal, like Oblivion remastered, make that an Xbox exclusive. You know, Indiana Jones, make that an Xbox exclusive. Seeing that go to PlayStation is like, okay, that just makes sense. That I can make sense of both sides of the business strategy of either trying to keep it exclusive or trying to go multi-platform, right? Like there's business pros and cons to both of those, but like toying with like this older shit. It would be as if it feels almost the same as if they said like coming soon to PlayStation and an Xbox disc that'll let you do backwards compatibility like the Xbox One does. It would be such a weird fucking thing to do. I don't know. I don't see who this is good for, honestly. Like I know Phil likes to stand up on stage and do his whole like when more people are playing, that's great for everybody. It just seems like you're catering to such a small percentage, but at a reputational cost that you can't really afford to keep doing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna go nowhere.
It's just...
Speaking of going nowhere,
Yes.
the last thing that I'm gonna get into before we talk about the Xbox price increases,
Yes.
because that's probably a good way to bookend this
Yeah.
episode. Okay, so Titanfall. It's to my immense chagrin that we have learned that there was a Titanfall extraction shooter in development that was however far along, and EA decided to cancel the project, and then they laid off like however many. I think it was like 300 to 500 people, something like that.
Mm.
But I mean, like the layoffs, like sad, sure, whatever. I mean, for me personally, I keep on getting kicked while I am down about the Titanfall IP, and I can't take it anymore, Anthony. Why do they keep doing it?
I mean, here's the thing. It would have been nice to have another Titanfall game. I don't. It's funny to me that we've seen like, or we've heard about like two separate potentially canceled Titanfall projects, and neither of them are traditional Titanfall games. They're just like, once again, it's almost like Titanfall is being treated the same way by EA that Square Enix treats Final Fantasy now. It's like they just want to do weird experiments with it. They don't want to make a traditional Titanfall game, and I get it, but at the same time I don't get it.
Yeah, I didn't need the next Titanfall game to be an extraction shooter. Like, if you wanted to make that, because that's what the trend is, you know what? Fine, like whatever. But give me a Titanfall game, you know, like pilot and Titan combat. That is what I want. I could have tolerated an extraction shooter version of that, but now I get nothing, and it stings that much more. Okay, I know that Titanfall is dead. My logical brain, I am aware that this is a not incomprehensible, but an irrefutable fact. Like Titanfall is done. It is not coming back. You know, but on an emotional level, I have to hold out hope that eventually we will get another entry in the mainline series. And I know how that makes me sound, and I also know how that makes me feel. but I need to believe that because, you know, Mass Effect 2 is my favorite game of all time. Titanfall, I'm going to say Titanfall 2. I know we have our disagreements between the first and the second game, but Titanfall 2 is probably it's tied between that and Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Like, those are my two all-time favorite FPS games. Like, Destiny is in there somewhere, but it's in the top 5. It's not in the top 1 or 2. Like, top 1 or 2 is Titanfall 2 or Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. The original COD 4 back in 07. Those two games are just unrivaled to me in as far as like how they felt when they came out, how they held up over the years. And I just obviously I got more COD than I know what to do with, but so like if I had a choice between getting so much Titanfall that like it became exhausting to me versus getting nothing at all, like I would take the abundance option, you know? Like, because at least I would have had the time with it to get tired of it, to not want to play it anymore. But I didn't even get that option. And you know, I'm just hurt, I guess. I don't know how else to put it. I'm just deeply saddened by the decision to can another fucking Titanfall project. And you know what? maybe I'll go back and play the Titanfall 2 campaign just to scratch that itch because, God, the campaign was one of the best single player FPS campaigns ever made, and I'll die on that hill. The multiplayer was something that was truly innovative and fresh and probably what the natural evolution of COD would have been had Infinity Ward stayed what the original Infinity Ward was. And then they had the Frontier Defense mode, which could have been so much more than just the wave-based defense mode, but I was happy to get a Horde mode in that game, just period, because it was still a ton of fun, but the potential for that would have been basically the sky. Titanfall 2 was just the perfect game, in my opinion. And I just keep on getting kicked while I am already down, and I can't take it anymore, Anthony. It just fucking sucks. There's no other way to put it. And I'm talking in circles again, but it just on like a list of boneheaded decisions that EA has made, the Titanfall franchise is probably number one in my opinion. Maybe Battlefield 2042 withholding. They fucking, that game was set up to fail from the very beginning, and despite the cult following that Titanfall has, it's done. I'm mourning a dead friend. I'm done. I can't talk about this anymore.
I'm glad you got a chance to vent a little bit about what is.
Yeah, I had to get that out of my system.
Yeah. Well, moving on from that, it is.
You have to take the reins right now because I'll keep on talking about this.
Yeah. So you mentioned it. I'll just get it out of the way. Xbox announced a wide sweeping price increase on pretty much all of their core products. For the consoles, you have every console going up anywhere between $80 to $130, with their highest the highest price console being the Xbox Series X 2 terabytes at $730.
Bonkers.
All of the controllers went up in price anywhere between $5 and $20. Headsets went up between $5 and $20. And the biggest thing, and the wide sweeping thing, not that that's good, but like the most major thing is that they announced that all of their first party games are going up in price for the new standard of $80, which is apparently where we're heading. And you know, I mean, there's a lot of factors in this. It's a lot of people are blaming, economic factors and all that. It's really just all these companies were looking for an excuse to bump up the prices on everything. And it just so happens that the time that we're currently in globally, while not making it a necessity, gave them good enough cover to do this. And with Nintendo jumping in with $80 games, Xbox decided to follow suit. And at the same time, the consoles are going up in price, which PlayStation was starting to do globally anyway. So this is just an opportunity for everybody to raise the prices. And I don't know, man. It would be a tough sell if we were in a healthy industry. It's just like I don't know, and we're just making gaming more of a luxury thing at this point. But it's like a luxury that's like not worth paying. Like I can't imagine somebody who'd be like, yeah, things are good. I'm willing to invest the same amount and buy the same amount as I was doing before, just at a higher price.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm like, they're blaming the price increases on the tariffs that Trump is putting on China.
So let me nip that in the bud right away.
Right. So I want to just put this out there. Like, this is not a politics podcast, but people feel how they feel about the Trump administration. This is just like the fucking facts of the situation.
Yeah. So let me just nip that in the bud right off the bat. So my take on that situation, right, is that while things like tariffs and other economic factors could lead to video game price increases in the long term, right? Them changing in the short term is reflective of companies just looking for an excuse to raise prices. I could see like emergency price increases in certain hardware things, which is what Xbox did partially, right? But between the fact that these things are not set in stone and the how quickly these companies reacted to it, it's really just an excuse kind of thing. Like, I think it was more likely that this kind of decision making was building just between how expensive everything's getting in general, global recession things and shit like that, right? But the tariffs, like, by the time a lot of these like successor products, and by the time like the Switch 2 is out, and just like the industry's had time to settle into this new pricing throughout the year, a lot of the factors that are being cited or that people are willing to blame on aren't going to be an issue anymore, because all of that shit is just global bargaining, right? And it also wouldn't account for the fact that digital products are going up in price too. This isn't like, oh, if you want to buy physical, you'll have to pay $10 extra. It's just like everything's going up in price. This is really just all of the things that we've been talking about coming to a head with like the perfect excuses. It's Nintendo's not getting the flack it deserves to be getting for for charging as much as they did for Mario Kart, which emboldened Xbox to do the same, because Xbox is hurting for cash in that revenue flow, right? It's so I just gotta nip that in the bud, where it's just like you can do a lot, you can say a lot of plausible shit about like global economic factors, right? But companies don't move this quickly unless they had been planning to do it for a very long time. And I think on top of that, the key factor, like the thing that you could attribute the most to the tariffs and different economic things, right, would have been the Switch 2 base pricing, which did not budge. You can kind of blame it. You can kind of say a little bit about the accessories too, but I think those were going up in price regardless. And the key thing everybody should probably remember going forward is that regardless of what happens with those tariffs and trade deals throughout the world, in like 8 months, when they're just like a blip and the deals are done and all that kind of stuff, these prices aren't going to come down. These companies are going to still be milking you dry at these higher prices. So it's just, there's arguments to be had about console pricing and accessory pricing, not about the game pricing. The game pricing has nothing to do with any global trade stuff going on right now. That's just not the case.
Yeah.
That's my one.
Greed.
Yeah, it is just greed, and like I said, everybody, it's so funny to me because there's this hang up where like they're saying it's just like I've seen people in the industry going up. We told you it was look at this, the economic trade deals are going through, and it's like, oh, we got to raise the prices now. Meanwhile, they're the same people who have been telling you for like the last 10 years that inflation is catching up to us, and so prices should be going up anyway. These guys just want the prices to go up. They're not looking at factors throughout the world and saying, up, it's possible prices will go up. They have been chomping at the bit for any kind of serendipitous turn in prices, and to say like, oh, it's inflation, oh, it's the latest trades, oh, it's the in cost, the real reason is the cost going up in development, which is totally on the fault of developers and publishers. So it's all bullshit is basically what I'm getting at, right? and basically, I think the only people who not win but like make out okay here are the people who play on Game Pass, I guess. Maybe this is Microsoft's long game. It's just like, we're gonna lock down things with a subscription service, and then everybody else is gonna have to fucking pay, which I think Phil actually said to a certain point, even though he kind of went back on his word, where he said either we need to release our games on multiple platforms, or we need to raise prices, but then he just ended up doing both.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
But go ahead.
Phil was like the supposed Xbox savior a couple years ago, and now it just feels like he's driving the brand further into the ground.
Listen, here's the thing. I'm not gonna. I don't like. I'm not. I don't treat him like some people treat him, both on the good side and the bad side. Like, there's people that treat him like the devil, and there's Xbox fanboys who have like framed pictures of him in their like little setups. And I think that's a little wild. I still think at the end of the day, when we're reading articles about this in 10 years, there's going to be like stories like, oh, how Phil Spencer was pressured, who was stuck in. I'm telling you right now, at least 60% of these decisions, maybe even 70, is because of top-down pressure from people above him, with Sarah Bond and Satya Nadella, that want to just turn this into, like, I'm not saying Phil's perfect. I'm not that guy, right? I know for a fact there are other factors in play at play just between the mergers and Microsoft as a grander company looking to get their money back, you know. So, but
Yeah, especially after they
the
spent billions on ZeniMax.
yeah, absolutely. The do you have anything else to say on the pricing? Any of the comments? Because
I
if not,
mean,
I can.
nothing that we haven't already said. I mean, I heard this news and I was pretty shocked. Like, charging almost $800 for a Series X is just it's fucking ludicrous to me.
Yeah,
I remember back when you got to the second half of a console life cycle, prices would start to drop like $100 here and there, and
yeah.
now what? We're just going in the complete opposite direction.
I do.
So
I
I
mean,
have never been more solidified in my decision to jump ship to PC than this announcement.
yeah. I mean, I look at it. There's a few things I look at when I look at this, and it's like I'm still of the same mind of like my whole console versus PC thing, where it's like console is still like the primary way to play. It's just things kind of change a little bit as far as what you're playing and how much you're playing. But
Mhm.
what was I gonna get at? Is like fuck, I lost my train of thought. What the
You
fuck was I
lost
gonna
it.
say? Yeah,
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, there are so many games that I have on PC that I can't get on Xbox that I play,
Hmm.
that really just make it worth it for me, just from like an ecosystem standpoint. Uh,
Oh,
like Deep Rock Survivor is one. Any PlayStation game that I've played is another. There's an like a isometric ARPG called Last Epoch that I can't get on Xbox. At least I don't think
yeah.
it's available on Xbox. I could be wrong.
Uh, I mean
But there's like a bunch of games that I can't play on Xbox that I want to play that
that.
I own on
So
PC.
yeah. So what I was originally going to get at is that like I just think this goes back to what I was saying and what I've said countless times is that there are so many issues with like the current industry at large that it's just like this is just it's all building to a point where like just gaming in general is like you're gonna need to hunker down a certain way, right? Because it's just like the consoles were not worth like jumping over other people to get for a long time. It's like it was really an enthusiast thing because it was like, oh, an investment. Like, oh, you'll eventually get good games, right? But it's just like the options were so sparse. So if you whether you got a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, it was because you had some kind of faith in the brand, right? And we're deep
Mhm.
into the console generation now where it's just like what have you got to show for it really? It's that like that make them stand out. I mean, in the case of Xbox, and we've talked about this before, it's their service. They've kind of gone all in on service, but like neither console is really making good exclusives. You'll have some Sony fans, and we know a few Sony fans that will argue the opposite, but it's like what of the Sony catalog is an absolute you must have it on that console that isn't eventually coming to the PC or runs better on the PC, right? It's just like, oh, Final Fantasy, oh, it's
Um,
on the PC. Oh, God of War, oh, it's going to be on the PC. Oh, Stellar Blade, we swooped in and bought that. Oh, it's coming to the PC. Oh, Helldivers is coming to the PC. It's on the PC.
right. Well, I mean, yes, you you have a point in that argument. However, I mean, when you're talking about having to wait an extra year or year and a half, or in the case of God of War, I think it was almost 2 years since I could play Ragnarok on PC.
Hmm.
Like, in my opinion, that's a significant factor. Um, that timed exclusivity over given enough time will pressure somebody into making a decision whether to wait or to buy a console. So,
I mean, I don't think Xbox or PlayStation really had anything to offer, honestly, comparatively
yeah.
speaking. Like, so they had a few offerings near the like maybe the first 2 years that kind of justified buying either of them, but it's like I think. Did you say something?
No, it's
Oh, okay.
uh-huh.
I thought you said that. But no, it's I don't know. It's I think the reason we're seeing the prices of PlayStation going up in certain regions and seeing the Xbox go up everywhere, and seeing the price, it's because like they have pushed the industry to the point where it's like they are starting to feel the heat and they need to make more money, which is why
Yeah.
everybody's making these batshit decisions. It's like Xbox is going multi-platform. You have Sony, like, every other month is cranking out a remaster of a game that doesn't look any different from how it looked last generation, right? Like the Days Gone remaster doesn't look like a remaster, it looks like a fucking port, but you can't sell a port for full price, otherwise, even the most ridiculous fanboy will get mad. And it's just like, I don't know. Currently, all things considered, regardless of where you're standing, like, if I'm just gonna be blunt about it. If this new pricing and the direction that the industry is heading in bothers you, and this is the general you, not the you, if this is just a bridge too far, or hey, even if it's you plan on continuing to buy just in a much lesser amount per year, right? It's time to hunker down. It's time to get comfortable with your backlog, get comfortable with emulation, get comfortable with going to the high seas, right? And I recommend you get comfortable with these things quick, because regardless, like all the things I just mentioned, like backlogs, emulation, all, piracy, whatever all that shit, it's not going anywhere. But during times of strife, where revenue is threatened by these companies to the point where they're willing to jack up the prices that high, they will be trying their best to clamp down on it. So I don't know about you guys. I am going, like, just over the course of the next week or so, I will be making sure that I go and I go get some classics, get some, nice emulator setups for some space on the hard drive, get all the games that I want to, because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a Game Pass guy too. I'm going to have that, but it's just like, now is the time to commit to some of the older games you just never got to, or, those methods of acquiring games to play,
Well, that's kind of what I've been doing over the past couple months. I've been going back and I've been playing games that I've been meaning to either replay or play for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't touched Destiny in, what was the last time I played? That's not Destiny, that's Darktide. Whoops. April 10th. So it's been almost a month, which is long for me for Destiny. Like, I'm finally utilizing my time to play the things that I should have already have played or replay. So, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it this way. I'm looking at the rest of the year, right? Just in between all the shit I work on, it's like, what am I going to be doing? It's like, well, I got Game Pass, right? So a lot of those newer games I just got to have, I'm going to have, right? The only games I'm interested in are going to be on Game Pass. There's maybe the Stellar Blade PC release, but it's just like, if I don't have the money, I'm going to be playing it, trust me, but it's like, am I going to be spending money on it? I don't know. Prices are going up, maybe. I don't know. I don't think there's a situation where I'm going to be buying another video game this year. I just don't see it. And that's like, don't get me wrong, I still love video games very much. I'm going to be playing a lot of these new.
We're just barely halfway through the year.
Yeah, I don't see, like, there's nothing on the horizon that maybe Nitro Express. But like that's like a $20 indie smaller company game. It's yeah. Let me rephrase. I am not going to be spending more than $60 on a single game for the remainder of the year.
Okay, that's a little bit more fair.
It's just not going to happen. Maybe even 60. Like I can't. Like I can't participate in an industry that's trending this way, and like it's not a tenable thing to afford. Like it would need to be in a position where it's like, there's a certain level, there's a certain factor I think into, because we are monetized, right? So I'm just like, am I gonna make at least half of this back in ad revenue when I look at some of these games now? So it's like, I can't. Like I'm looking at, I have my Xbox on right now. I see like a bunch of games. It's like, I'll still be playing Oblivion. I'll still be playing Expedition 33. That'll probably tie me up the rest of the month alongside Doom: The Dark Ages and Nitro Express.
Oh, can't wait for Doom.
Yeah, that's gonna be. I'm not gonna be paying for that. It's gonna be on Game Pass. If I really, I downloaded Saints Row 1 the other day. It's like I haven't played that in a while. Maybe I'll play that. I actually have an interesting. I don't want to spoil it. I'll let you know when I get to it. But like at the end of this month, maybe the start of the summer, there's a little something I'm going to be working on, and it's going to be all games that are older or on Game Pass that I've owned for years. And it's just like I'm I've never been that guy where I've said, "Fuck all this shit, just live in the past," because that's gay. You should really you should always have something to look forward to. But it's just like if you really wanted to, there's just so much shit to play in the past.
Yeah.
Stuff that either you're willing to play again or stuff that you just never experienced. Like I'm into a bit of the I'm into the niche stuff. I would say a fair bit more than you are. Right? That's fair to say.
I'm
There's
into
still,
my own little niche.
yeah. No, I get that. I'm just saying like this. Like we're not like mainstream guys only.
Yeah.
But there's still plenty of shit
Definitely
on like consoles like the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 that I'm just like, oh, I never got a chance to play when it was new. Yeah, go play that. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like it's time to get comfortable with your backlog and emulation and illicit means to acquire digital goods. Man, talking about going back and playing older games has me more excited than like what the fuck else is coming at. Like I feel actually a little bit of warmth. Like, oh, I'm just thinking about the older stuff on the PlayStation, the original Xbox, the PlayStation 2, GameCube, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of shit to play out there. You just gotta find what
Yeah.
you're into.
Yeah. I don't know, like a
Um,
last thing, not to start a whole other tangent because we've been at this for a while, but I noticed you linked an article talking about, oh, you can play GameCube games on your Xbox now, right?
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
actually
that was
funny.
that's a modding thing.
No, that is a
That is
modding
not
thing. But here's but
supported.
here's I don't know how I think it's a little harder now, but when the Xbox Series X was new, like the dev mode right out of the box, people were playing PlayStation 2 games on the Xbox Series X. I want to say like year 1 the console was out because
Oh,
the
really?
dev mode makes it so easy to get emulators. I think they might have cracked down on that a little bit. But that was like just who knows? Maybe in like a month I'll be playing God of War 1 on my Xbox or something. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, uh, modding is cool. Or
Yeah.
at least what modders do is cool.
Yeah, shame. That's it's a shame. That's something that a lot of the people younger than us, how we talk about like tech literacy and shit like that, modding
Yeah.
and emulation and stuff like that is just lost on some of the kids these days. And more for me, I guess.
Um, all right. Well, I think that's probably as good a place as any to wrap this
Yeah,
up. We've been at this for way longer than usual.
yeah,
Um, so if you've stuck around for this long, thank you for sticking with us. I mean, we're almost 2 hours in, and this show really never runs that long. But
yeah.
we had a bunch of good stuff to talk about this week, so
Oh yeah.
it's been fun. So that was episode 54 of the Pregame Network podcast. And thank you for joining, and we'll be back again next week. Maybe something earth-shattering like no Titanfall or Xbox raising their prices will happen this week.
See what happens.
Yeah. Well, on that note, thank you for listening, and we will see everybody next time.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.